And we want to get back to that other breaking news. That is the death of comedian Bob Saget. We have Variety Deputy TV Editor Michael Schneider on the phone with us. And Michael, this is a shock to us all.
Truly. Bob Saget was only 65. He was in the middle of a tour. He seemed just still so vibrant, so youthful. We're all just sort of stunned at the news.
Yeah, and he was a very dynamic person. You know, he graduated from Temple University in 1978. He made his way into comedy clubs. He actually won a Student Academy Award studying film in college after a high school teacher recognized his artistic ability and encouraged him not to pursue an MD, but rather to go into the arts and pursue acting. And we've been talking all night about his range, you know, the Full House, America's Dad that everyone loved, the cozy TV dad versus the raunchy comic who was, entertaining adults and making people laugh until the very end.
Yeah, that was what was so great about Bob Saget. At one point, you couldn't escape him on television. He was everywhere. He was on Full House. He was hosting America's Funniest Home Videos. He was still doing his stand-up, which, like you mentioned, was a little more blue than the family-oriented Danny Tanner on Full House. But nonetheless, he was beloved by comedians, beloved by children who grew up watching Full House. Generations sort of grew up with Bob Saget as their TV dad, and I think they're all sort of reeling today because of this news.
And there aren't that many people in Hollywood with that type of staying power, that type of relevancy, and that type of range.
No, and a lot of it just comes down to, he was such a consummate performer. He was so quick. Whenever he was on anything, he immediately had the quick wit. He was very just personable, just a good guy in person, a philanthropist as well. Just one of these people who was appreciated by so many different generations. And I think that helped his longevity, is that so many different generations loved Bob Saget.
Absolutely. And we know that there was no foul play involved. That's according to the police in Florida, that there was no drugs involved. But it's so shocking, especially because he was performing last night near Jacksonville at a comedy club. He just tweeted about 16 hours ago expressing his gratitude to his fans.
Yeah, and that's what's so sad and so sudden is obviously we'll find out in the coming days what happened. These things do happen sometimes as you get older, as I'm learning myself. And I do feel for his family. I do feel for his fans, and just his comedian family as well. They're all coming out tonight on Twitter and just expressing shock and sadness because he was so beloved by the comedian community, particularly as sort of a comedian's comedian.
Absolutely. What are you hearing in terms of reaction from other comedians and other celebrities in Hollywood as a whole?
I think first everyone is stunned, they're shocked, but also just he was beloved by every comedian imaginable. Again, just as a good guy, as a really nice person, a good person, but also just a quick wit, a sharp razor, a comedic ability that not everyone has, and also the fact that he could play blue but also play to families. He was so versatile and so beloved by all comedians. I didn't know a comedian who didn't love Bob Saget.
And maybe there was a little part of him in every role. I mean, people talk about how kind he was and how caring and how loving he was. And maybe that's where, he drew his inspiration for his character in Full House. And then maybe there was another side of him, which is where he drew his inspiration for his comedy and why so many people could relate to him that way.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, he supported research in scleroderma, which is a rare skin disease that his sister passed away from, and he would hold tributes and concerts and fundraisers every year for it, and anyone would show up and support Bob because they knew how much this meant to him and how much obviously that meant for Bob meant to them.
And he was also a master of satire. Talk about him in that realm.
Yeah, he was always great when it came to roasts as well. He would always have a quick, pithy quip when it came to sort of having some fun with folks, and he played with his image too, especially in the post Full House years. He could be really satirical when it came to poking a little fun at being America's dad, because we know he did have a dark and dirty side as well, and that was sort of fun to poke a little bit of a few holes in that Danny Tanner character.
And we've been talking talking about that line, which I cannot deliver on television, in the movie Half-Baked, and that line just stays with people. People recite that still to this day. It was just a one-liner where he made a cameo, but it was so cutting and so funny and so shocking after knowing him as America's dad.
Right, right. And that's, again, you mentioned staying power, and I think that's part of it, is that people really appreciated the fact that they loved him as America's TV dad, but they also loved him as a blue, dark comedian, and the fact that he had that he was in on the joke. People really appreciated it, and they loved him for it.
And so dynamic, an interesting background. Take us inside, what you know of his mind and his intellect and his ability to have that range.
Well, he had this sharp comedic mind that, he could come on, countless, he was on talk shows and radio shows and immediately come in and just riff and sometimes derail the entire show. But that was part of the comedy, was the fact that he was just going to come in and just take over and, riff on whatever he saw or was looking at. And sometimes the host wouldn't really know what to expect. If you couldn't keep up with Bob, then you were in trouble because he was going to take over. And, that's the sign of a really sharp comedic mind, is he could just come in and just dominate and have some fun with you.
And let's talk about America's Home Videos, because, we're saturated with videos from cell phones in this day and age, but that was pretty groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, and he was the first host, and what was also, groundbreaking, obviously, because back then there was no social media. People had to mail in VHS tapes, and it was a very different kind of show on TV. But also groundbreaking in the fact that Bob Saget was on 2 top 10 primetime series at the same time, with both Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos, both on ABC at the same moment, both dominating in the ratings. That's a rare feat. Not many people have had 2 hit TV shows on the air at the exact same time, and that's just a testament to Bob Saget and how popular he was in the late 80s or in the early 90s.
Absolutely, and the whole time continuing his comedy and being on stage and having that intimate connection with a live audience.
And that's why this really hits hard, is we all grew up with Bob Saget. We all saw him everywhere. He was just such a part of our lives, part of our pop culture lives, and in recent years played himself so often and poked so much fun at himself that we felt like we knew him, even if we didn't know him. And that's why it feels really, really personal today, I think, for everyone just learning this news.
And there's something really endearing about endearing about a celebrity who can be self-deprecating. I think everyone appreciates that,
Yeah, and that's what's been fun about Bob Saget, is that he didn't take himself too seriously. He had a lot of fun with it. He could really poke fun of himself on TV shows, like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and just really not take it too seriously and allow people to have some fun and have a laugh at his expense. And you also really just appreciated his relationship with some of his co-stars, including on Full House, and you could tell like they really did love each other, and that really did mean something. John Stamos, Dave Coulier, and then, of course, his kids, who, in personal life, he stayed in close contact with as well. It really, really was something that was special that we got to see on TV.
There is something that shows through on camera that you can't fake. And I just want to read a tweet from host Andy Cohen. He said he had the biggest heart and wore it on his sleeve. He was so generous with his feelings, a mensch. And I've heard that word several times, a mensch, in describing Bob Saget tonight. And generous with his feelings is a really nice way to put it.
Yeah, I think a mensch is a perfect way to put it, and just overall, just really, comedians again really appreciated Bob because he spent time talking to them and working with them, and was generous of his time too with other folks, including comedians who were younger than him, who were just on their way, and I think everyone really, if you're a comedian these days, you want to be Bob Saget. You look at that, and that was a life well lived.
And one other statement from Jon Stewart. You talk about the comedian population, the comedian community expressing their shock and grief. And he again echoed that same sentiment, saying, Bob Saget, just the funniest and nicest. And I think that's a very good encapsulation of everything we've been hearing tonight.
Yeah, and if you go on social media right now, you'll see everyone: Patton Oswalt, Gilbert Gottfried, a number of folks who are posting photos just days ago of being with Bob and seeing Bob and spending time with him. And I think that's especially what's sort of shocking about this news today is that obviously Bob was in the middle of a tour. He had so much more to give and so much more comedy to share, and that's what's really, really sad about this.
Well, Michael Schneider, we've taken a lot of your time tonight. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.